There we go. The hangout is live. Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Darren Fink. I'm with Transfiguring Adoption, and Transfiguring Adoption exists to nurture growth and foster and adoptive families. And today we are with some folks that work with Refuge in Knoxville, Tennessee. They're out here at Barnes & Noble. They're talking with people about different coping skills, different coping mechanisms, and different ways that they help kids from traumatic backgrounds deal and walk through that trauma. And obviously, as Transfiguring Adoption, we feel that we use media and resources to help kids with that. And so we want to learn more about what they're doing to help kids and see if maybe you guys can get some ideas about how to help your own kids in your house. Or maybe if you're in Knoxville, you want to contact them and see all the cool stuff that they're doing. So please, we have a chat window open up for our YouTube viewers, so you can chat and ask us questions. And also Facebook, this is live for you too, so if you have questions or comments, please let us know and we'd like to hear about it. So what's your name?
I'm Dajae Morris.
Okay, and what capacity are you helping with City of Refuge?
I'm on the board.
You're on the board, okay. And so what's your artistic specialty?
Okay, I'm a singer-songwriter, poet, and a photographer.
Oh, wow.
And a graphic designer.
Wow, so you kind of do the gamut there. So singer, songwriter, graphic designer, poet. What was the one? I missed one. Photographer? Photographer, very cool. So City of Refuge, they use the arts and they pair kids from traumatic backgrounds up with people within the arts to help them kind of cope with trauma and walk through that. So you're on the board. Tell me about what is your appeal for City of Refuge and how are you seeing it help kids?
Yeah, so the appeal for City of Refuge to me is the vision. It's the idea of partnering with kids and their families and providing resources that they otherwise may not feel they have access to.
Very cool.
Yeah, and growing up in that kind of place where I didn't feel like I had access to resources, I felt drawn to what Kyle is trying to do and build.
So have you had the chance to be paired up with a child yet at all, or to work with a child?
Yes, I've had an opportunity to mentor. We had a very short run because of issues with my foster mother and things like that. But we got together. We got hot chocolate a couple of times. We had a pretty interesting relationship. She was also she was 12 and she was a poet. She had a lot of songs that she was writing, and we just had a whole lot to talk about and a whole lot to discuss between the two of us about what it looks like to grow, what it looks like to use things like songwriting and
very cool. So you find so you guys are using the arts. What I know you have to go pretty soon because you actually have some stuff that you're doing. When you sit down with a child for the first time, what is it that you're trying to figure out? What are you trying to do to help them use the arts to cope with trauma?
I just want to get to know them.
Okay.
For me, what I hold on to in every circumstance, whether I'm in front of a group of kids or a group of teenagers or college students, whoever, or if I'm sitting down with someone, like one person for the first time, my whole goal is to connect people to a deepened breath through their art and to expose beauty in all of its messy and inarticulate forms in every realm, whether that's photography or poetry, whether I'm teaching a workshop. And so I believe that requires being able to see them face to face, not as a project or not as something that needs to be healed, but as a human being who has experienced life and maybe has experienced the darker parts of life and needs to be listened to. So
what is the goal? What is the goal when you're with a child? What are you hoping? I'm hearing you say that I think it's interesting and fun that you're talking about. You're not looking at it as a problem, or you're not looking at it as like this is someone that needs to be healed or taken care of. It's just someone that's been through a darker part of life and they just need to maybe talk about that, be listened to. What is your goal?
I want want us to walk away with them feeling seen.
Okay.
And I guess that could be my only goal. I think that there's so much power in a person when they reveal themselves. And they feel seen by someone, and they feel safe in that sight.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, I'm going to get on second let you go, but before you, media and favorite person, someone that's inspired you as an artist.
Okay. Favorite medium is poetry.
Yeah.
So poetry has been with me since the beginning of my life as a human being. Knowing how to process from the day that I learned to write. For some reason, it's always been poetry. So,
is there anyone that's inspired you as an artist?
Yes. Dante Collins is someone who inspired me. He is the editor of Button Poetry. And I didn't know that he was a spoken word artist until like a year or almost 2 years after. He followed me on Twitter, and then I followed him
That's
back.
awesome.
And he had all of these poems about vulnerability and process that I really connected to. So.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope someone can get in touch with you through City of Refuge.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, and we're going to talk with someone else. I don't know if you want to send someone else over. Does anyone want to batter up? Maybe not. Otherwise, Allison said that she would. So hold on 1 second here, Facebook. We have another person coming over, but you guys, in the meantime, if you want to come over, if you want to do it, if not, that's fine.
Just answering questions.
Yep.
I don't think that's good over there.
Okay, so City of Refuge is on the internet. If you want to take a look at them, you can find them on Facebook, but they are definitely a great organization. They use the arts to help children work and walk through the trauma that they've been through. They are going to, if you contact them, they're going to pair up your child. So for foster adoptive parents, very cool, because they're going to pair up your child with someone in the arts that they can connect with. Yeah, just come on down. So what is your name?
My name's Adam Coker.
Adam, make sure that you're speaking loud enough so that they can hear you. That's no worries. We got one cool person in Facebook that just joined us. Jesse. All right, and questions. Okay, very cool. So what do you both do?
We are both part of an up-and-coming local metal group called Time and Eternity.
Okay, cool. Can people find that on the internet, or how do they find you guys?
We're on Facebook and Instagram right now.
Okay.
Should have some music up in the next few months. I would say around summertime we'll have some music online.
Very cool.
Should be accessible through Facebook.
Okay, and like I was saying, City of Refuge is utilizing people that are in the arts to pair them up with children, and then those mentors are walking kids through ways that they can express themselves, discover their uniqueness, do different things with them, and help them through some of the difficult things that they're having to process. What's your appeal to City of Refuge? Why did you both get involved with City of Refuge? I guess I should ask first, how are you teamed up with City of Refuge, and what capacity?
I think it's just through Kyle, when he got
Okay.
of us to help people cope with music, cope with things throughout life that has been hardships with them through music.
Okay.
I had known Kyle through a couple of shows that we had both been at, I think a couple of years ago. And he informed me when he was starting getting things involved with that, and asked me if I'd be interested in, being involved in at least, assisting with how music has helped me cope with difficult things in my life, and maybe how that would be relatable to other people.
Okay.
And so I definitely want to be able to do that.
So have both of you been able to in City of Refuge? Not yet?
Not
yet.
City and Refuge.
Okay.
I've worked with children in the past that were just helping them cope with by teaching them how to art.
Okay.
And that would help them just to better express themselves.
So I guess have you ever had any experience in your past or your history where music has helped you walk through a time or help you make sense of the world or what you're going through? Why do you connect with music? Why are you both musicians?
Do you want to go first?
Okay. Or just wannabe has to go. It doesn't matter.
All right. Well, man, I guess that particular connection stems back through high school. I had been pursuing music for, well, at this point, about 20 years, since I was about 8 years old.
Okay.
But in high school, it kind of came to a culmination where I was just struggling with a lot of depression, just had a lot of pressure that I felt like I had to live up to in my life. Didn't feel like it was, allowing me to actually live, you know. It felt like it was more constraining, more suffocating in a sense. And around that time, I started, I guess, delving a little bit deeper into music and just finding encouragement through other people who had written about being in similar situations. And I was thinking at that time, I was like, well, okay, these people have been there. They've come through it. So it's not impossible for me to get through this also. And, you know, maybe when I'm on the other side of that, I'm going to be able to do the same thing for other people.
Very cool. Okay. Well, very cool. So it sounds like you've had issues and different things that you've had that music has helped you go through then as you've delved into it and worked through different things.
Absolutely.
So as you guys are working with City of Refuge, what are your hopes as you're working with kids? What are the goals or the hopes that you're hoping to see as you're working with a child that's been through trauma?
The goal is to help them be able to cope with that trauma.
Okay.
Whether it be to express their anger from the trauma, their depression through the trauma, whether it be something that makes them sad or scared, want to be able to help them cope with music through that trauma.
Okay.
Even like to make sense, perhaps, of what was going on through what someone else has written about, or to let music kind of be like an outpouring of their emotion, you know?
Right.
Kind of the same idea of where blues came from.
Right.
You know, you have this feeling that's built up inside, and you don't really know how to express it either verbally or physically, so you turn to music and just kind of let it flow out as a vent, for lack of a better term, you know.
And I think that's interesting too, because I think a lot of our kids that I've seen as a foster dad, a lot of our kids obviously they have emotions, they have feelings, and they have something they want to get out, but they just don't know how to do that. And I think it takes people to show them how to do that. And it's not always, I don't feel like the best way for them to do it is always just by talking with people, because they don't always have that. They're not always able to articulate their words. They don't have language like other people might have language. They need something else to be able to do it. And there's so many different ways. Like there's music, there's poetry, there's art, there's so many different ways to get that out of them. Very cool. Well, so if people want to, if they have a child in their home and they want that child to get hooked up with a musician, do songwriting, what specifically, like, would it be hanging out with you guys to write songs? Would it be hanging out with you to play music? What does that look like? What would you be doing with that child?
Easier to get an instrument, hand them an instrument, put an instrument in their hand, and then just teach them to play that instrument, or show them how the instrument works, whether it be a keyboard, whether it be a guitar, a bass, harmonica, anything that the child would like to get in their hands. Not saying that we can play that, that's
right.
Thing, because I cannot. But just to, it's practically getting an instrument in a child's hand will help them cope.
And getting them introduced to a tool to communicate.
Exactly.
Right.
It's another way of communication. It's an escape from a reality or a traumatized event that they had.
Very cool.
Could experience.
One thing that I would add on to that is if that child was actually looking to learn, or if they already had like a foundation to an extent, one thing that I would really like to do would be maybe be able to teach them a little bit of music theory, you know, something that would expand their knowledge of how music works so that they know more fully different ways of how to express themselves through music. You know, instead of just, well, this is a major scale, you know, you've got your major scale, which you can play music that makes you happy through a major scale, but also you can express your sadness or sorrow through a minor scale, or maybe some of your tension through something more of like a Phrygian mode. I think those different branches of music theory help to allow a more expressive involvement in music.
Very cool. Okay. Well, we have folks that are going to be watching this later, and they're going to say they weren't here for the live deal and they weren't able to ask their questions. How do they get in touch with you guys if they're wanting to have their child get connected with a musician? What do they need to do? Do you guys?
Well, I think first and foremost, they could probably contact Kyle through City of Refuge, or if they wanted to contact me directly, I think I mentioned my full name earlier, Adam Coker. They could find me on Facebook, message, whatever, or contact with Kyle. He can get in contact with me, and I'd be glad to hook up and correspond by email or text or phone call, whatever.
Very cool. Okay. Well, thank you so much, you guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate the work that you guys are doing. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. I'm going to see if Allison is around, if she wants to do it, to talk on here. But all right, sit tight with me, YouTube and Facebook. I'm going to see if, oh, here she comes. She is running to save the day. Here I come to save the day. And our one-foot person that is not connected with City of Refuge is Allison Douglas, and she's been on our shows many times before with Harmony. And Allison, hey, Jack, glad to have you here. It's always fun to have Jack Dawson on here. He's a reviewer and a big Transfiguring Adoption fan. Your name, who you're with?
I'm the Education and Training Coordinator at Harmony Family Center in Knoxville.
Very cool. And so you were out here today doing actually a training session with folks. And what I know you're not going to hit all the stuff that you're doing, but what is the I guess what was the title of the talk, the workshop that you did?
Sure, it's talking about self-regulation skills for kids and building those capacities for children who have been through traumatic situations.
Is that important for foster parents and adoptive parents to know? Self-regulation?
Yes, it's important for kids and parents.
So what, I didn't even think about that. So what were you talking about? Were you talking about parents regulating themselves or children regulating themselves?
Both.
Okay.
So we talked a lot about kids and teaching them proactively how to regulate. And then we talked a lot about co-regulation, which is my favorite thing to talk about because it means both parties have to be working hard to keep themselves calm, to be in the moment, to deal with what's at hand and not sort of go off into our thinking mind.
Right. So what is one, without giving away your whole workshop, what is one really cool tool or way that families can use to regulate, either self-regulate a child or to co-regulate?
Well, I think it's so cool because the young lady that you interviewed first was talking about kids being seen. And I think like allowing our kids to know, I see who you are behind this behavior. For a lot of kids, it's a behavior that the parent needs to be regulated to cope with. And to say, I see you and I'm here for you regardless of the behavior. And now we also need to work together to make this change.
See, I feel like we could make a whole. Margie just actually wrote a blog on that. She learned from our foster daughter. She would constantly, like if Margie was doing something goofy, our foster daughter would say, Miss Margie, I see you. Yeah. And she's like, one thing that she learned from that was that child wanted to be seen, because she said she kept saying it so much that she's like, I bet you she wants to be seen. And Margie's like, to be honest, she's like, when she would say that, she's like, I felt special because someone saw me and someone saw me being goofy and she's, so I think that's a huge thing just to see your kids.
Well, it's part of acceptance. You know, I think that all are looking for. I mean, we're all looking for that. But if you have that background where you maybe haven't been accepted because you've moved a lot, or just because you're not living with your family of origin, there's a great deal of shame and feeling isolated and feeling not good enough that comes with that. And then as parents, we also have those feelings of like, I'm not doing this very well. I'm not a great parent. And so when we can just accept each other and say, like, I see who you are, despite the fact that you yelled at me because I didn't do my homework, or I see who you are, despite the fact you're not doing your homework.
Right.
That makes us have a much closer relationship.
So is there a correlation then, like with our kids, that they haven't come from the greatest backgrounds? Are they, like, how do you know if you're giving them enough? Because I know for myself, if I'm on my A game and I'm feeling good about myself, I don't feel like I need as much acceptance, or I don't need people to see me as much. But just from experience, I'm guessing our children need to be seen more. How do you know if you're seeing your child enough, and when do you know when you need to lay it on, and when it's okay, I can ease off a little bit and not pay attention to it?
It's just all about relationship, right? It's about having that relationship with the child. And when you're on your A game is probably when you're feeling good about your relationships with people. So I know I'm not the best parent if I feel like I haven't seen my husband in 3 weeks, right? Or I don't have any friends anymore because I'm busy all the time. We all feel best when we're in appropriate relationship with a variety of people. So also just facilitating that for our kids, finding mentors, facilitating with teachers, and not laying it on, like having it become at a certain point real. That's what we do, is we look for who our children really are.
Very cool. If people want to get in touch with you at Harmony, or if they want to go to one of your workshops,
sure, what
do they need to do?
They can email me at Allison, it's ALLISON, at harmonyfamilycenter.org.
Fantastic. And I know some people that are watching this are not from Tennessee or from Knoxville even. What, can they still get a hold of you for workshops, or can they still glean from your note? Because you're going to want to glean from Allison. Like, can they still?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Harmony offers free webinars with information. In fact, we're doing one on the 27th, which is not that long from now.
It's not that long.
Week and a half. And that one is about ACEs and how they impact foster and adoptive children. And so they can send me an email and I'll get them a link. And I'll also be this summer at the National Adoption Conference speaking about discipline.
Can, when they attend one of your webinars, do they get continuing education credit for their licensing?
Absolutely. What we do is we issue a certificate of participation, and then I know certain states are different about what they accept, but we will issue that for each person listening to the webinar, and then they can pass that on to their agency or their state.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. Allison, thank you so much. Those are all the people we're going to have time to talk to today. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're with City of Refuge today out at Barnes & Noble. They have different folks out here talking about how different ways that people can cope with trauma in kids and different techniques and styles. So definitely go on to their website or on their Facebook page and check out City of Refuge, especially if you're in the Knoxville area. You're going to want to get connected with them. City of Refuge. And I'm Darren Fink with Transfiguring Adoption. I hope we're helping you to nurture and grow your foster or adoptive family. I'm going to say goodbye to Facebook here and YouTube. Thanks for coming.